All right, welcome back, everybody. We are Social Distance Podcasters back. We've got Jonsey here, and we've got George does appear on the show today and gives us a very good insight into what the Olympics is like during a pandemic. He's fired up for the road race. We also go into, I go into a big rant about what the Olympics meant to me and what it means now. And Jonsey shares a couple of stories that involve alcohol, like always. So like, share, subscribe.
It's not working, Jonsey.
They don't want to be locked into a house or an apartment.
Got to follow the social distancing rule.
And some nuff dicks were getting tested and going in and doing a shop.
COVID. I had it.
Detective George Bennett.
Yeah, he's a bellend, absolutely.
George, don't say hello to you. Like,
I don't know. I'm actually genuinely embarrassed.
I broke my back.
A vertebrae or a portion?
Spinal.
Mate, Jonsey, just do that thing where you just put Bill's talking and let me see I can hear him first.
Cookie on Survivor. Tell me about it.
Well, yeah, Baden Cook, green jersey winner 2003, and everyone knows Cookie. Like, you'd agree, Bills. Of all the people you've met in cycling, he's one of the best storytellers or the most passionate. So when I heard he was going on Australian Survivor, I was like, oh, fucking hell, this is going to be epic. But he did like a 2-week boot camp before he went on Survivor. And chatted to the Rat Rogers who was on it, Matt Rogers, the former rugby player. And I think he's been given like heaps of strategy on how to fucking win it.
Because he won it, Matt Rogers.
Or is he planning to make himself look?
Well, he wants to win it, obviously. So there must be strategies on Survivor. It's not like just roll up and, just fucking survive. It's like you've got to learn how to snake people and tribes. And then when Cookie
Survivor
was...
like a real sort of like drink your own piss kind of vibe? Or is it more like, wrangle? It's not that kind of thing.
It's like I started watching the first episode last night. I only got halfway through it because it was pretty long. But no, I haven't watched Survivor for years, but I do remember watching it back in the day. I think it's like you just got to do like little games and tasks and things, but at the same time, you've got to survive not getting voted off by your peers, eh?
Yeah.
It's kind of a fine line though, right? You got to be good, but not real good, so everyone goes like, oh, this guy's
right.
That's the first thing you do. If I was on Survivor and I was like identified someone as really good and a real threat early on, I'd be like, get rid of this guy.
You
almost want to be
goof.
Yeah, you almost want to be real useless. Like just go, I don't know how to start a fire. And then like when someone does finally get the fire started up, like 3 days of trying to like rub sticks together, you just throw water on it or something. And like just really butcher it.
But the thing is,
instantly. I'd keep Jonesy around just because he's good for yarns, but I'd get rid of you straight away.
Yeah. Oh, I just went out in Girona for like 5 minutes to get a coffee. And like I'm wearing a Hawthorn Hawks singlet. Singlets are a real risk in the summer, because you haven't got a filter under the armpit. And it's just like, it's so hot here. I wouldn't survive in the Australian outback. No way.
Tell me about it. I'm running a thingy in Japan right now.
Yeah. How is it over there?
That's good. New Zealand's gone with the team kit, the bogan, nice. Quintessential New Zealand. Like all we needed was like a pair of red bands or some jandals or something, and I was thinking like one of those back flaps.
Yeah.
We did get a bucket hat actually.
Yeah, How much kit do you get? That's always intrigued me because for me, they always go, I'm not rolling up to the games just for a tracksuit. If it was me, fuck that. That's all I want. I want tracksuit to just rock around G-Town for the next 3.5, 4 years.
Mate, you get a lot of kit. From Beijing and London, I only kept a couple of items of kit though. I gave a fair bit to like the old man. He wears it still. I kept a couple of t-shirts, but I gave most of it away to like the volunteers in the village before I left. And I just kept the opening ceremony shirt, which is always pretty cool. My blazer, and I think I might have kept my tracksuit top.
What's opening ceremony shirt? Is that like, do they do like obviously there's no opening ceremony, we don't get one.
No, they used to do like a special, like a one-off, like a dress shirt for the opening ceremony. And it was different to the rest of the kit. Like,
oh no, we don't.
Yeah, they're quite cool.
A special homage to David Bain. We got like a knitted jumper, bright blue jumper. So that was quite a good like touch.
Quite fitting, eh?
People don't know who David Bain is. Google him.
Who's David Bain? The magician.
No, that's
David Blaine.
David Bain's a serial killer in New Zealand.
Okay.
I'm not serial
Well,
killer.
no, is he
killed his
though?
whole family.
Well, did he? That's the thing. No one knows.
Oh, that's a can of worms. Yeah, he got it.
Yeah.
So.
He did.
All right, let's
he did,
talk about David Bain. No.
he did 15 years in jail, and then he was eventually acquitted.
Okay.
15 years later.
But the police
or something
basically
like
went like, "We know you did it, but we can't ping you for it."
that.
So why did they do a tribute to him? Did he get locked up with a blue sweater or something?
I don't think they did.
I don't think it was. It wasn't like DB embroidered on the. He's famous for wearing horrific sweaters.
Yeah.
So what's the vibe like in Tokyo, GB?
Oh, I'm out in Gotemba. It's actually all right. I just feel like I'm at Tour Down Under. We're just all the cyclists locked into one hotel. Me and Patty are pretty cozy in here. This is our little get up.
Oh, it's a nice room.
Yeah, it's very Japanese sized room. It makes me realize how efficient Japanese people must pack, or how clean. Because like this doesn't go well with two Kiwis that have just got a shitload of gear, and love to spread all around the room. And then there's no cupboards or anything. So we're just operating a pretty close quarters environment at the moment. But yeah, it's all good.
So what's the story? What's the story with the bubble there? Obviously, you can only leave your hotel to go training, and then for the events. But all the cyclists are in the same hotel. That's considered one bubble. So are you all in the same restaurant, or you got to eat in your rooms? Or
yeah, we all go eat together. It's real weird. So basically, I'm allowed. It's actually like excruciatingly boring because you're either allowed to train outside, which is sweet, and then you can eat in this all like buffet style, which is whatever, and then you have to just sit in your room. There's no common areas. There's nothing. So you're just in your room. And you're not allowed to stop, which is pretty interesting because if you've forgotten something, you're up shit creek. Like we don't have like enough sunscreen, or we don't have like oats, so no one's allowed to go to the supermarket. So whatever you didn't bring, you can't go get.
Oh yeah.
You're not allowed to interact with the Japanese. And Japanese are having a good time over here. Like everyone talked about how they didn't want the Olympics, but they love it. And also like everyone's charging around normal life. Most people aren't wearing masks. People out boating on the lake and stuff. Like
But how do you know that they're loving if you can't mix with them? It's just the vibe.
Oh, this way. It's just very waving. We're waving focused.
Yeah, right.
Okay. I reckon the hotel, like, although, yeah, you can argue that. I mean, you've obviously done an Olympics where you stayed in the village. Did you stay in the village in Rio?
Yeah.
So you've had the village experience, and like ultimately you go
because in Rio they were like basically if you leave the village you're going to get mugged, and if you don't get mugged you're getting Zika. So and don't drink the water. So they basically just scared you into staying in your room anyway. Actually,
when come to think of it, the Olympics have been real virus-based Olympics the last couple, Zika, Corona. But the point I was getting at
chlamydia was the big worry in London.
I think that's sort of been quite rampant most Olympics.
That's been around for that's been doing since the 20s.
Don't they have the no rooting beds in Tokyo? They're all made out of cardboard, so if you make too much bouncing on it, they'll snap. Do you hear about that?
Yeah, but I'd go as far to say that I don't think that's going to deter people with the Olympics.
I'd just go as far to say that most sort of cyclists at least pretty missionary. I think you'd be right.
Yeah. Well, that's what the floor's for.
Yeah. Anyway, what I was getting at before you guys went real like left field.
Yes.
The Olympics ultimately, George, you're there to try to succeed and have and perform and win a medal or whatever. But you can't deny the fact that the Olympic Village experience and the Olympic experience outside of a pandemic is pretty cool, and obviously you're not going to get that this year. You're in a hotel quite far from Tokyo and stuff. But what I was going to say was that's actually not a bad option at the moment, because have you seen the villages? It's there already. COVID's already in the village. Like,
is it?
Yeah, there's been like the South African Sevens team, rugby team. They're in isolation. A female gymnast from America. She was positive for COVID the other day. They haven't released who it was yet, because obviously that's like the American gymnast teams, like that's their superstars. They win gold medals from every single time.
You don't wish COVID on anybody, but remember that girl that was real pouty, and when she didn't win, she got silver, and she had like massive. Do you remember her famous photo from the last one when she was standing?
Oh,
there
she cracked it. Yeah.
But yeah, apparently it's in. I was watching CNN yesterday morning, and they said it's in the village now, so it's going to be pretty dicey couple of weeks. I imagine the IOC and the organisers will be feeling.
Mate, I think the road race is perfect. Like, get in, get out, get your tracksuit, get out.
Yeah,
like don't muck around. But how's it been seeing the guys that have done the tour? Because the turnaround time is nothing. Like there'd be nothing worse. And yeah, if you've ripped it up, had an awesome tour, like Wout van Aert, all you want to be doing is just charging for 2 or 3 days just to celebrate. Bag a heap of cash from the post-tour crits. Nah, straight on plane, straight to Tokyo, and you just be like, oh, fuck that.
I don't know if people. I think that's a real Australia New Zealand thing to just absolutely launch after a big goal. I think most people rein it in a bit and start thinking about Eneco Tour. So I don't know if that's really, you know what I mean? I don't know.
See, this is the problem. Every athlete that doesn't think like Aussies and New Zealanders, they always get to the point of their career where they look back and they go, yeah, I just didn't enjoy it as much as I should have. They always go, I was too serious. Like, there's a reason why Aussies and Kiwis are like that, because if you can't launch on the back of success, the fuck is the point of success? Within reason.
Exactly. That's peaks and troughs theories, right? Like the bigger the trough, the bigger the peak.
Yeah. It doesn't make any sense.
And like, I'd argue that my peak is considerably lower than most other pro cyclists, but the climb is way bigger because I start real low.
If we're measuring altitude gain, you've peaked higher than everybody. you've done the most. You've done the most like the most vertical gain over a year.
Yeah. The only reason I stopped digging my trough is because it starts getting too warm as I approach the equator, and then I better get out of here now.
Imagine if you started climbing from sea level, how good you'd be.
Yeah.
Hey, we were saying off air, Bewls, before you jumped on. Obviously, looking at the tour, do you think you could have avoided those crashes in that first week?
No.
And we were saying this: if you gun to your head, right, you had to continue. This is we were just saying off punting back when you weren't here.
Yeah.
If you had to continue gun to your head, no matter how many bones you broke. How many bones did you have broke? Even if every time you broke one, you had to get back on your bike and keep riding until they crashed again. What was the count by the end?
Oh, for me, I don't know how many bones in a body. Would have been 50%, I'd say.
I'd say all those crashes happen right in your area too, like right where you have to ride every day. Like you just know you would have been there because that's right where all the big engines were trying to keep their guys out.
I don't think. Yeah, well, obviously most people didn't avoid those crashes anyway. I was watching just after the first stage. I was catching up with Darryl Impey, who's obviously not there this year because of an injury as well. And he, I said to him, like, mate, if we were there, we'd be out by now anyway. Probably both of us would have crashed. Both of us would have broken a bone. Yeah, it was gnarly. I guess that's a pretty good way to identify people in Tokyo who did the tour, right? Because they'll still be racing with bandages.
How are you feeling for the road race anyway, George? Are you sniffed to take out gold for New Zealand? Because fuck, mate, that'd be huge for the hits. That'd be huge for the potty. I actually think that if you were to bag gold, I reckon you would officially give the potty the ass, or at least be like, guys, I might be able to pop in December, but it'll all depend on
scheduling.
If I get that 2 weeks in hotel quarantine, I'll be able to slip you in on day 4.
How am I feeling? Yeah, feel good. I don't know. It's how do you tell? Do you? You know?
And it's a 1 day race, eh? Like it's so different. You know, like you only got
like everything's going well. There's nothing to say. Like, you know, like it's all been a smooth run. Let's say so. Like, you just gotta hope for a good day, don't you? Hope that everything's right. Hope the tactics right. Everything like that. So much can go wrong. But
what's the circuit like? Where are you going? Like, I haven't looked at any of it. Is it going up Mount Fuji or?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then you come back down, go around the racetrack. That's the only thing I like knew before coming here was from playing Gran Turismo, Mount Fuji circuit.
Oh yeah.
The last climb's real hard, isn't it? Like 10% for 7K or something.
Actually, me and Paddy rolled out day one, just got off the plane. Like, I made this loop on Strava without looking like at the profile, and I was like, oh, this looks cool. There's like a little lake up there, right around there. And we were riding. We're like, this climb's pretty steep. Got to the top after like, 24 hours of travel, just rooted like, and then we were climbing, just got steeper and steeper and steeper. Come back to the hotel, and we're like, oh wait, that was the final climb. Accidentally did it day one off the plane, and it's steep. It's hard. It's also real hot.
How long is it that climb? Like in minutes, like
Only
30
4K.
minutes, or
Nah. Like the hard bit's like 18 minutes.
Oh yeah.
And then it's plateau on the top. So it's like we've got to like it's gonna be like you can drop well and stuff, but can you drop him by enough? Like if he's just dangling off the back, you're in trouble.
Mate, who's going to ride with him? Like, let's say you're away. Like, let's say you're away with Pogacar and Roglic to the top of the climb, and then you've got Van Aert is like 30 seconds behind in a group, say of like 3 or 4 other guys. Are you going to ride if you're with Van Aert? I guess
you're going to lose the race if you don't.
Yeah, I guess the Olympics is different too, because you're actually like to get third at the Olympics is still something because you get a medal. Whereas like in the other race, you either win or you don't. But like the Olympics, it's still worth riding for third to get the medal.
Mate,
I'd ride to 10th.
The 1 minute advice I'll give you,
Grant.
George, you have to get in the break of the day, because the Olympics are fucked at getting organised at the back, mate. I'm telling you, like it's a shit show. The break of the day most of the time will be there at the pointy end.
If we're in for a bad day or whatever, and it doesn't go well, like say you're out the race, you crash or something happens or whatever, and you're sitting on the sideline, I would love to watch the break of the day go to the line. It'd be, you can imagine like
it'd be so good, eh?
But remember this, okay? Let's think about your brand, GB. As I hold up my Vicks inhaler, the Kiwis, the time zone is perfect for the first time in a long time.
So the boys have all told me it's 2 p.m. Saturday. So there's various groups.
So lots of Kiwis are going to be watching. You got to think about all those people in New Zealand watching. Get in the fucking break of the day, and then all social media lights up. We've got a Kiwi in the break. It spreads. Fuck it, man. Like then when the road race finishes, say it doesn't work out, you'll get so much fucking press on the back of being in the break. And if you get caught and you get piped away, who cares? It's about TV time. TV time.
Break on.
Yeah. And knowing George like we do, that's exactly what he's after.
Yeah,
publicity.
TV time. It's all about the marketing.
Love it.
Yeah. Think of all the interviews you could do, George. Just
awesome.
Straight after the race, just fucking non-stop. You have to get someone to book them all in.
You get to hang out in the mix zone for half an hour after the race.
Yeah.
Talking to like
nightmare.
New Zealand Herald, Sky Sport,
mate.
Stuff.co.nz, Rotorua Daily Post.
I was going to win and crash myself, so I wouldn't have to go through
that. Superman into the gutter.
Who's the favourite there? The Pog man, probably.
Pog.
Yeah, Pog, Adam Yates.
Pog, Rog.
Well,
Wolf Van Aert. Well, yeah.
A lot of names. I looked at the start list, and there was probably 20 times I went, "Oh, that guy could be good." I forgot about him. Oh shit, he's here. You're going, "Oh man, there's so many guys that can win this race."
But people also think that about you when they see you. So
that's right.
Like in truthfulness, and
of course.
Like it's weird the Olympic road race though, because not that I've ever done one, but it's such small teams. Only 4 riders. Only
really weird.
4 riders to a team makes it so hard. Like when you look at the selections, like if you look at the, I don't know, let's look at like Great Britain team for example. It's like almost 4 leaders. Who rides?
How do you do that?
Like how do you approach it? The breakaway goes, but someone's got to eventually ride.
So potentially on that team, you got Teo, G, Adam, and Simon, and I guess all of them won Grandy. Adam hasn't won a Grandy, but Adam's potentially the best 1 week stage racer, behind Pog and Rog. So then you go, well, one of these guys is going to have to put their hand up and go, okay, I'll ride.
Mm.
Or do they just go, all right, we've got 4 guys. Let's just launch them early and make everyone else chase, because you can't let Teo go up the road. You can't let Simon, can't let
No.
Adam, can't let G up the road. So they just launch.
Yeah.
And then you go, then maybe Italy tags them, maybe not Nibali, but maybe Ciccone or something. And then you go on, and eventually like everyone's happy because they've all got like let's say their B rider, who's still, one of the best riders in the world, up the road.
It is true. Like when you, with 4-man teams, like at the World Champs, when you have like 8-man teams or whatever it is, there's always like, going back to Great Britain, they'd have like Luke Rowe or something, who would obviously be there dedicated to ride, control the race, to set up for the leaders in the final. You look at that team for the Olympics with those 4 guys. You look at Italy, you've got Nibali, Moscon, Ciccone, and Caruso, all guys that can win the race. Like all those teams have got, like, they don't have anyone specifically there. They're all highly paid race winners, Like they don't have anyone there that's going to be like, oh, he's a clear guy that's working for this guy. Like, it's like, who the fuck's the leader? How do they approach it? How do you actually not cock it up in a way? Because, the breakaway will probably be small and it'll go far and everything. But again, you got to put guys on the front at some point.
Someone has to do it, right? Yeah, exactly. Like if no one chases.
That's why you got to get in the break. They can't sort the shit out at the back, mate. Get in the break and you'll go to the line. You win the goal. That's it.
You heard it here first. Breaks going all the way.
You heard it here first. It's going all the way. Like 2012 was a shit show. Remember there was a break of Stewie was in it.
Yeah,
that was the Invino one. Yeah. They couldn't organise at the back. Because remember, Cavendish was the favourite, remember, Bewls? And they were going to try and set up the sprint. They couldn't fucking sort their shit out.
Did the break survive in 2012? Was Bewl?
Big group. Bewl ran like 10th, I think.
Yeah, was that actually the break, or did they launch into the race halfway through the race?
It wasn't the break, but it went like on the last time up Box Hill or something. But from there was still 40k to the finish, but they couldn't control it. They couldn't get it together and they couldn't bring it back because it was too big.
The only thing I remember about that finish was a bizarre Rego Dino thing at the end.
Oh yeah, when he looked up and then he attacked on the side.
There was that
was sus.
Yeah.
That was sus. I heard whispers about something, but I know nothing.
Let's not cast suspicions.
No, not at all. If you want to Google it, go for it.
How's the food there, GB? Is it sushi or what? What's the story?
No shortage of rice.
Teppanyaki. Oh, how good is the rice though? Like with rice. What is it? Rice vinegar or something? So good.
Why doesn't the rest of the world cook rice like this?
I know. So good.
And have you had a ramen? They don't do ramens in the buffet.
Ramen.
Ramen. Ramen. Where they
no ramen, mate.
The soup, noodles and shit.
What I've noticed is they love to sneak sugar into stuff. So like you try and get some eggs, like an omelette. Someone's just sneaked a bit
sugar
of
into an omelette.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Not bad.
So after your race, are you literally that's it? You're on the plane.
No, I'm going to TT as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm hanging out for the TT. Try not to humiliate myself too much, and then next day out of there, back to Andorra.
Yeah, and is Craig Geeta running the show down there?
Yeah, Geets gets in tonight, so he's grumpy at the best of times. So imagine him up there jet lagged.
Anyone that doesn't know, Craig Geeta is a mechanic at Bike Exchange. He looks like Carl Pilkington. He sounds like him, acts like him. He's just grumpy, like hilarious, like one of the funniest blokes. We had a cracking night out in Japan Cup 2012. It was me, Geets, Joachim, and that was when we were walking up the street and we were with Fumi Beppu and we're looking to go to like a nightclub or karaoke bar, and this guy jogging past had like a towel around his neck. And I stopped him. I was blind. We were drinking like sake and shit. And I said, hey, mate, karaoke. He goes, yeah, come with me. And he took us in there. And, he jumped up on stage, this Japanese guy, and was singing karaoke. And he had like snap pants on and whipped them off and was wearing a leopard G-string. And he was a professional karaoke singer. Like, it was unbelievable. Professional karaoke singer. And then Fumi Beppu was so blown away. He got him to do the entertainment for every team he's been on ever since at the end of Japan Cup. This guy just gets up and busts the tunes out. But Yeah,
Geets
great
and Geets and
spot.
Joachim are coming in tonight, so Joachim's our Swanee for the
Is
rugby
he?
as well.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's awesome.
Are they going to let them
And
through?
Al-
Do you reckon they're police waiting for them at customs or what?
Alberto's mechanic as well, eh?
Yep. Yeah, we've got full
Yeah.
bike exchange set up.
You got the full bike exchange kit. You got the bus?
Yeah, bus. Yeah.
When you see Joachim, ask him about the time in Canada that he slipped vodkas in Gita's beers at this Orica function. Just ask him about that. Because Gita had 3 beers, but Joachim was putting shots of vodka in it as well. And Gita's diabetic, so like he needs to level out this shit. And by the end of the night, it was just ask Gita about that. It's a funny story. Good times.
All right. Well, that's enough dirt on Bike NZ stuff. So I'm actually going to leave you boys and head to dinner. Are you guys
No worries, mate.
Are you guys going to let this? I remember last time I looked at it earlier, you sort of really slipped in and started asking about Sam about the economics of cycling teams or something, and everybody turned off.
Yeah.
Well, let's be very clear to our listeners. We've had a month off the podcast. You would have thought that that's given us plenty of time to organise our first episode back. We made it very clear we were coming back before the Olympics. We could have done a lot of preparation. Yeah. And the way it went, guys, listeners, for your information was yesterday I sent a message to the group and said, who's up for a podcast tomorrow? Within about 3 seconds, we went off on a complete ramble about Baden Cook on Survivor Australia. Didn't even talk about organising the show. So then again, this morning I messaged, what's the plan, lads? And George said, yeah, jump on now. I've got dinner in an hour. So here we are, completely unorganised. We had no topics in mind, no run sheet. And we've made it through 26 minutes. And I don't know, we've only offended, 4 or 5 people, I'd say, so far.
Well, I will say this. I'll make a prediction. Your favourite for a New Zealand gold medalist at this Games would have to be Laurel Hubbard. I think she's going to absolutely mop up the weightlifting. Sensational story. So if you don't win gold, GB, don't worry. You're definitely going to win it in the weightlifting, mate. So I think New Zealand in for a good show.
I don't think I would. All right.
Oh, mate.
Boys. Enjoy. All the best.
Right,
no worries.
Good luck.
Good luck. See you later.
See you, bro. George Bennett. Great to have him live from Tokyo. I love how he just, when I threw in the Laurel Hubbard, his eyes just rolled like,
yeah.
What the fuck did I agree to do this?
It's good of him to come on, though.
yeah, but it's normally the 45-minute mark where he goes, yeah, I'm fucking over this. I'm out. This is the 25-minute mark. So we'll sort of, I think it'll be 5-minute increments as each show progresses. But no, it's good for him to come on for sure.
Yeah, it's gonna be. I'm interested to see how he goes. I reckon he'll go pretty good. I reckon George maybe hasn't admitted it to himself yet, or unbeknown to himself yet. But honestly, I reckon he's like a world-class one-day bike rider. Like if you look back, like he was second in Lombardia. He won what did he win? That Italian one-day race the week before Lombardia. Like he won the New Zealand Championships. All one-day races. Like he boxes around in one-day races like real well. And I think this course here in Tokyo with that last climb, it's right up his alley. Obviously a medal is a long shot for anybody in a cycling event. But if I was a Kiwi sports fan, which is a good part of New Zealand, they'll all be behind you.
I think you are a Kiwi sports fan, aren't you?
I am, yeah. I'd be watching though. I'd be watching George, and I'd be watching Paddy. Like, we didn't talk about Paddy, but man, I reckon Paddy Bevan, who's there riding the road race and the time trial, he's a real shot at a medal in the time trial. He's done consistently the last 3 or 4 years at the World Champs in the time trial. He's been top 5 every year, and the course is hard. And Paddy's he's a good climber for a time trial rider. It's a course that suits him. I honestly reckon that Paddy's also a genuine, outside, but a chance at a medal.
I was dead serious about getting in the early break, for this day. And I think what COVID's taught us is it's not predictable racing. it's hard to sort your shit out. Like even if you look at races like the Giro, how many breaks went to the line, how many first time winners, it's all up in the air. They're not going to sort their shit out at bringing a break back. If there's a couple of strong guys in it, get in the early break, and with the time zone with New Zealand, I know we like take the piss about the media and all that. Still, like that'd be a buzz, like being in the break and being at the pointy end, because I just wouldn't want to be with all the hitters at the back when they start gassing it up, trying to be caught up in the washing machine. And obviously it's bloody hard to get in the break, but when you got bugger all numbers as well, like just commit to the hit.
Or you just anticipate the final a little bit more. Like maybe not so easy on this course, because I think there's not after they do Mount Fuji, they come back down onto the racetrack and then they go and do that final climb. I don't know if there's much room. Obviously, it's going to kick off on that final climb. That's where the favourites are going to start like throwing hammer and tongs at each other. But if you could anticipate that and get away a little bit beforehand, that's also a good way to race the finals. It's like often how guys race the finals in the classics these days, like in Tour of Flanders and all that. Like the final, let's say the racing final starts like 50k to go, then you try to get away like 80k to go in a small group, get a bit of it, anticipate it a little bit. It's also a good option for George, but on that course, I don't know. I think he can follow, like, probably no one can follow Pogačar and Roglic. Like, that's just the reality of it. But he can certainly follow the next guys. And if there's enough time after that last climb to come back, if you're in a decent-sized group and you're within 30 seconds,
Isn't the scary part that don't you, after doing a 3-week Grandy, like a week after, you've got some of the best legs of your life? Like if Pog doesn't cook himself and rests up and tries to recover a bit for a one-day race, like you see some guys that have gone pretty deep at the Tour and go out and do San Sebastian and have an absolute blinder. I mean, if he's on top form, on that last climb, he's just going to smash him.
Yeah. And it's real weird, like Grand Tour, like they talk about Grand Tour legs, and it is true that, like, within a week or two after a Grand Tour, not for everyone, but you can be going pretty well, obviously, because you've just done a massive workload. But you always feel shit, even if you're going real good. You always feel shit, and like I've had it before. After the Giro, I raced a one-day race in Switzerland, and like I just felt shit. Like every lap up the climb, I was like, "Oh no, I haven't recovered from the Giro. I haven't recovered." I just like slogging away, and then all of a sudden you're like, "Fuck, there's only 20 guys left, and I'm still here." So it's like you don't necessarily feel that good, but you actually are going real well. So it's going to be a week is a pretty short turnaround when you're chucking a long haul flight, a time zone change, like different climate, the high humidity of Japan. Like it is a short turnaround, and I think you're probably going to see a bit of a mix of some guys coming from the Tour like Pogačar, who's just so good, mixed in with guys like Roglic, who hasn't done the Tour de France because of the crash, but I don't know how he's pulled up. Mixed in with guys that did race the Tour but didn't race it hard. Maybe guys like Fulsang or something like that. Nibali, who stopped early, didn't race for the GC. Like all those guys, and then you're going to get like the guys like George and a few others that didn't do the Tour at all. It'll be interesting. Yeah.
Do you reckon we obviously called it last year with our hashtag 2022, and it's fucking bang on the money because this year's been a total fucking write-off.
Yeah.
But could you imagine, take the Olympic branding out of it, imagine having an event where people are coming in from all over the world when we can't sort this shit out with the pandemic, and then you're locking them all together in high-rises in the athletes' village. Like, this shit's going to kick off. Like, every day of the Olympics, there's going to be more stories about, it's gone through an entire weightlifting team, or the Swedish judo team, they're out. Boxers fucking tested positive just before the bat. Mate, every day. Like, people are just not going to be able to keep up with the amount of shitstorm and those stories of people that go, oh, man, I'm fucking gutted. I spent 4 years training for this event, and I got done because I bumped shoulders with this prick at the buffet, and now I'm fucking out. 4 years.
And do you know what? Like, do you know what would have been a way to pull off a successful Olympics? And this would be hugely controversial and highly irresponsible. But if they had said, righto, the Olympics, your event's on whatever date, you're only allowed to be there for 5 days before, and you've got to leave straight away after your event. So you're in the village or you're in your bubble for 5 days maximum. That's it. You do all this rigorous testing, COVID testing before you come, whether that's like every day for 10 days before you get on the plane. You get on the plane, you fly, you land. They do a test straight away when you're at the airport. If that's negative, you're released into your bubble, whether it be in the village or whether it be in this hotel that the bike riders are in. And then for those 5 days, no testing. You just assume everybody entered their bubble negative, and now we're not going to test.
Yeah,
and that's hugely irresponsible, obviously, and that's why they're not doing it. But it would have almost been the only way to pull off a successful Olympics without it going like. Without the whole world going, oh, fuck, the Olympics shouldn't have happened because now there's been 500 positive COVID cases and now the village is rampant and now people in Japan are scared and everything. Like, obviously, you can't do that and it's a silly idea, but would have worked potentially.
Well, there's going to be stories of people that have won gold that'll test positive like half hours or a couple of hours after the event. For sure.
What about Bernal? He won the Giro 2 days later, positive for COVID.
Yeah.
You know, like obviously you can't assume anything, but if you're, I don't know if there shouldn't be any leeway for athletes, of course not. But you wonder if you're a big superstar, say if Usain Bolt was still running, he was going for his 5th Olympic gold medal in 5 Olympic cycles, and he was positive the day before his 100 meters. What are they doing?
Yeah. It's just amazing that at the end of the day, it comes down to money. They're talking about $50 billion that Japan pumped into this Olympics, and I don't know. Like you hear about, the financial benefit of promoting the country and that for tourism. Fucking tourism, that's off the radar for the next 5-10 years. Like that's it.
Was there ever? I don't know if I missed it, but was there ever a debate or an argument over holding the Olympics, like postponing it another year and having it next year? Or was it that wasn't an option? It was on this year. I don't think it was an option.
Yeah, it was either this year or that was it, because then you're overlapping with the Winter Olympics and then your backlog and then preparation for events and that. I think they're pretty much like, that's it. It's this year or that's done. And then what do? You can't write off $50 billion. Like, you can't just push them all back. Like, they just had to do it. Like rain, hail or shine. But on the flip side, like we're in lockdown here in Melbourne, and it's been extended another week. The games has come at a pretty good time in terms of there's fuck all to do. Like you're locked in, you can do some work now, and with the time zone, you're like, all right, saddle up. I'm going to get into it. Like rock climbing. Who we got? Who's a chance?
Yeah.
Like, get into it.
Oh yeah, the games everyone loves the Olympic Games. It's so good. Like it's the only time that, like, sports fans or not, they watch sport, and they watch all sorts of sport, all sorts of random sport. Like I don't watch swimming or rock climbing, like you say, or skateboarding.
Yeah,
I never watch that stuff.
If there's a gold up for grabs,
but I will watch it at the Olympics. Yeah, and that's what the Olympics does, and that's, I guess, it's obviously been controversial whether it should have happened or not, blah, blah, blah. But ultimately, like, in a nutshell, simplify it all down, people need it. People need it now, like all around the world, especially like, okay, I know there's not as many countries in lockdown now, and like a lot of the European countries are coming out of restrictions now, but you guys have just plummeted into them. Like, it's time to watch sport, eh? Feel good about something. Feel good about someone else.
But what's your take on the UK? I see it's like Freedom Day, and they've just gone, fuck it. 70%, fork out you go, no restrictions. Like, that's going to bite them in the ass, I feel.
Yeah, but when's the fucking end game, bro? Like at the end of the day, this fucking virus is here with us forever. And if you do these big vaccination drives, and like they did in the UK, they go, let's go, boys, let's get everyone vaccinated, let's whack it out, because that's the only way to go back to normality. They've reached the goal now of herd immunity, or whatever you call it, X amount of people vaccinated. if you can't open up, then when can you open up?
Yeah, that's a good point. 85%.
Yeah, where's the end game? 100%. Like at a certain point, the world has to open, and we have to learn to live with this virus. And if the end game is not having 90% of the population vaccinated to open up, then what the fuck is the end game?
Mate, I can get me vax in 3 weeks because I turned 40. And as I said last year on the potty, I'm not celebrating my 40th this year. I'm sitting in a dark room in the corner. I'm just going to shut it down. I might have a couple of G&Ts. And then next year, I'm going to have a 20th anniversary party for my 21st birthday.
Yeah, nice. I like it.
Yeah, just write it off. Why would you invest any money or any mental preparation for any big party or event this year? We told people almost 12 months ago, I reckon it was in August last year, fucking write the year off. And we were bang on the money. At the time, people were going, oh, geez, that's a bit negative. No. Where are we at? 2022 has been a bag of shit.
Yeah.
Write it off. It ain't getting any better either.
It's getting worse for you guys. Like Australia's up shit creek, eh?
Yeah. Oh, mate, we're what do they say? King eye rooted. We're fucked. So, we're up the bloody creek without the paddle, mate.
That's right.
So people are just over it. They're fucking over it.
I'm heading back to New Zealand. I got my flights and my MIQ hotel booked the other week, and heading back to New Zealand at the end of the year for the first time in 2 years. Like I'm moderately, I wouldn't say highly concerned, but moderately concerned that like I'm going to come back after 2 years of New Zealand living a normal life, being COVID free, that I'm going to come back just as it fucking hits.
Yeah. And you'd just be thinking, why the fuck did I bother?
Like, keep this Trans-Tasman bubble shut, man. Don't let the Aussies in.
No, don't.
No.
Scumbags. We'll just spread it. We'll spread it. Like
close it off.
Vegemite and butter, mate. We'll just spread it all over your clean rolling hills.
Yeah.
Just fucking shut that shit down. Anyway, fuck it. George is right. We were always going to get negative after he left. We're always going to go down a rabbit hole. But I think it's good to be back, Bills. I think like a short and sharp Tokyo preview. What do you think in terms of results for George? What's the cutoff where he'll be up for another potty? Like what has to happen in the race for him to go social distance? Yeah, I'll jump on when I get home.
I reckon midfield. I reckon if he wins, we'll never see him again.
No,
if he gets last, we'll never see him again.
If he gets bronze, are we a chance?
Yeah, I reckon maybe not initially because he'll be too under the pump with other media obligations.
Yeah.
But eventually, and I've experienced this firsthand. You win an Olympic medal, it's all bells and whistles and roses, and as much as you hate the attention and the constant interviews and stuff, at the same time, it's a little bit addictive. You get involved in all of that stuff, and then eventually you come home and you go, no one gives a fuck anymore. And it's like the post-Olympic depression. It's real. So then he'll need the podcast to come back to life, So
we'll just, regardless, we'll have to wait. We'll have our own sort of podcast quarantine after the road race. He'll need 2 weeks just to mentally get in the headspace to get back on board. But we should just do a recap ourselves of the road race and break down what happened.
We will. The road race on Saturday. We'll do another episode starting next week. I reckon we'll get George on. He was keen to come on today. We might not get him for the full hour, but we never do.
What was the best perk of winning an Olympic medal? Where was the part where you go, this is fucking cool? Was it an interview? Was it an after party? Because obviously you've done it twice, 08 and 12. What was the best perk?
The parties were pretty good after. Beijing was real good. I was 21 years old. We had 10 days still in the village after we competed. And Oakley used to do a massive party. And that was sort of exclusive in a way. You couldn't just go to the Oakley party. You had to be invited. And if you won a medal, you were invited through the Oceania thing, and that was always that was a pretty good night. The Oakley party was always sort of the biggest party of the games.
Did you see anyone massively famous there?
Yeah, remember Lolo Jones, the hurdler?
Yeah.
And she was like the favourite to win the gold in Beijing, and she tripped on the hurdle in the final. And
that's right.
Got squat.
Yeah.
She was at the Oakley party.
Yeah.
On the top of the tables. No, she was just blind. We're all blind.
Good. Yeah, good.
No, but I don't know. It's pretty cool. Like, it is quite cool when especially in London and Beijing, because of the time zone. Like, we had to do like live. I remember in London we had to do live like 6 p.m. news in New Zealand. We had to go on live and do an interview and stuff. And so that was like 6 a.m. or 7 a.m. or something in London the following day. And like it hurt at the time, but when you look back, it was actually pretty fun. Like, because we just went on the piss all night after we won the medal. All our families were there, so like we hadn't seen our families for months, and they were all there in the stands. So then, like, we finished the race, went back, had a shower, did a couple of interviews and things, and then we went out to the pubs to meet our families. So we had like the whole team together with all their families, and like it was a great night. And then you roll home at like 3 a.m, and then 3 hours later you're doing this live interview on New Zealand network news, like half the country watching it, and you're just like, it was a good race. Like, it's good fun.
Didn't you go back and speak to your school? That would have been good.
Yeah, I went back to the school a couple of times. It's pretty cool when you go home, but it is true. Like, man, when I got home from Beijing, we got home like probably 2 weeks after we'd won the medal, and like I landed. I think we landed on like a weekday. I landed at Rotorua Airport, and like my whole family was there, and there was like local journalists there and everything, and so you sort of hung out at the airport for an hour doing some interviews and like with the family and photos and all this stuff, and then I jumped in the back of the old man's Toyota Hilux with 500,000 K on the clock of it, and fucking door rattling away, and drove home, dropped my suitcase off, and Dad was like, "All right, mate." Mum and Dad were like, "Right, we got to go to work," and they went to work, and I was just sitting there in my parents' house at like 3 p.m. on a Wednesday, just won an Olympic medal. Like,
that's it.
Yeah, right. It's like those penguins on Madagascar, when they like break out of the zoo and they want to go to Antarctica, and they finally get to Antarctica, and they're just standing there, and it's just this wind blowing ice shithole, and they're like, "This fucking sucks."
Colin Hay from Men at Work did a whole spiel about that, and he said everything was a rush when you're at the peak of your fame. He goes, you're playing at concerts at Rio in front of 110,000. Everyone's like, wow. And you get in, you're in the limo and you rush around. And it's like people banging on doors, like, wow. And you rush into the hotel and they're all screaming, want your autograph and all that. And you're pushing through and blah, blah. And then you finally get up to your room, shut the door, and you sit down and you go, what the fuck did I rush for this? There's nothing now. Oh, that's it.
Yeah.
It's the same sort of thing.
Yeah. And like, I don't mean to like make it sound all shitty negative. It's pretty cool, and I'm still proud of what I did. But it's true, man. At the end of the day, like it all subsides at some point, and you got to move on with your life. You can't live off that for the rest of your life. That's for sure. Yeah,
but it must be different. Like, obviously, I'm never going to be an Olympian. Let's get that straight.
You can have a sex change and do some weightlifting.
That's right. Give it a crack. But I think it must be cool just to have in your lifetime to say, I represent my country, I went to the Olympics, and I won a medal. So every time the Olympics comes round, all those emotions that get stirred up or whatever. It's like for me, if I see, Facebook's a bastard at that, when they do like the memory stuff. And with COVID, it makes it fucking harder because, like, when they go, hey, on this day 6 years ago, you lived in Europe and you had fucking amazing life. It's like, piss off. Whereas, like with Olympics, it must be cool knowing that, it's going to come around 4 years, and every time it does, it's going to bring up awesome memories. It'd be fucking awesome.
Mate, the Olympics is a funny thing, and especially for New Zealand. The New Zealand Olympic team has this sort of mantra of creating, like, we're a small country, we bat above our average, we've only got 150 athletes at the Olympics compared to 1,000 Americans or whatever. So they create this little, like, in the Olympic Village in the New Zealand house, they really try to create this like New Zealand, like we're one family sort of spirit, you know. And it's
that's good.
It's good, but it's kind of, I don't know if I didn't really buy into it that much when I was at the Olympics, because out of those 150 people, you've got like people there that are genuine medal chances, people that are genuinely like on the edge of potentially winning a medal or certainly having a good result, and then you've got guys that like probably aren't going to have success, you know. And so you get this real mix of vibe where like you've got all these people, and the New Zealand team Olympic team really try to push it. Like everyone come and hang down like in the common room, in the lounge, and there's always someone with his guitar, and there's always like people singing, and you have this like real group of Olympic athletes that they were the same for me in Beijing and London, that were always like center of it. You know, they were downstairs, they were like playing the guitar, and they kind of became like the real popular people.
Do they have their go-to like classic It would have had to have been classic Kiwi tracks, yeah.
Yeah, but like
what's the time, Mr. Wolf? What's the time?
Those people became like the real center of the New Zealand Olympic team, and they were the ones who were like kind of popular and kind of like loved, and then they go on to have jobs with the New Zealand Olympic Committee when they retire from their sport and stuff. Whereas me and my teammates, we didn't buy into that shit. Like not that it's shit, but it kind of is a little bit. And like I was there for one thing, man, and that was to win an Olympic medal, you know? So I didn't have time to go and sit down and be part of all that stuff. As much as I appreciated it, that's not why I was there. I was there. I was in my room. I was at the food hall. I was at the velodrome. You know, I wasn't 2 days before my event down there, like singing, playing guitar and like getting into this kumbaya bullshit. Like, fuck, man, like we're there to win the Olympic medal. Like, so it's a real funny mix. And like, I think that it's quite good for George, like, you know, just to be as fun as it can be. It's good if you're there, you're motivated. George is there to have a successful race, you know. He's away from all that stuff, and obviously it'd be different with COVID. But it's a funny thing, the Olympics, eh? Like, you know, there's 10,000 athletes at the Olympics, and only a handful of medals are handed out. And you know, and the reality is, not everybody is there to win a medal because they understand that it's not going to happen for them, and they're there for a completely different experience. And that's where it creates a real funny dynamic in the Olympic Village, because you do have these people there, like I was, but pig-headed, a bit arrogant, maybe in a sense that I was like, no, fuck that, I'm here to win an Olympic medal. And then the same guys in the same building as me going, fuck, I'm here to experience the Olympics, you know, and meet people and stuff. It's quite a funny dynamic, but it's good fun after you've competed, because then you just get a bit more into it. And do you find another weird thing is you have some athletes, right, and they think they spend their whole life, they want to win gold, right? And that is going to define who they are as a person. You win gold, you fucking made it. But how many examples are there of gold medalists over the years that people go, oh, really? They win gold? At the end of the day, it's a big thing in the moment. But after a certain amount of time, like, let's be honest, no one really gives a fuck. So there's a bit of a mental danger zone for certain athletes that spend their whole life going, I will have to win gold. And when they do achieve that period afterwards, but where people move on and they go, good on you, mate. Don't fucking care. That's like we're in sport. Like, I reckon it takes a long time to work this out. And I listened to a podcast, I don't know if you sent it to me, with Ben Crow. And he talks about like sport is what you do. It's not who you are, you know? And I think that when people get that mixed up and they think sport is who they are, then, you know, their successes and all that stuff, without them, they do like plummet into these like dangerous, you know, periods of their life, because they can't separate themselves from what they did. And they go like, oh, I'm an Olympic gold medalist, and like no one knows that, and no one gives a shit, and I feel like what was it all for? You need to separate that and go, that's what I did, and I did it well, but that's not who I am. What I am is Sam Bewley, and I'm a fucking top world-class podcaster or whatever, you know? And like, just be who you are, and that's how you continue forward. Because you're right, man, like, you win an Olympic medal, at a certain point, that's going to be years and years and years and years ago. And it's going to not mean much. It's going to mean something to you forever. But you can't just like expect that to be the same for everybody around you. So yeah, it's I don't know, put a real negative spin on the Olympics, haven't we? Good luck to all the athletes there.
Even that, if you win gold, that doesn't mean shit. People will move on. So why
Fuck
the
it,
fuck
get-
would you even bother?
Get downstairs and play the guitar. Don't worry about the medal.
Mate, at the end of the day, I think that's why George made a good point. You know, Aussies and Kiwis, when we do have success, we celebrate it because it all comes back to, at the end of the day, everyone's looking for the same thing. It's fucking happiness, Bewls. We're getting deep on the first show back for a while.
Good.
But anyone watching or listening to this, do whatever you got to do to be happy. Don't buy into the bullshit.
Yeah.
Fucking whatever you got to do every day to get through. Don't go down the rabbit hole of, you know, substance abuse and stuff that's going to fuck you up long term. But generally, do what you got to do to make you happy. Treat people the way you want to be treated and live a fucking happy life. You don't have to be a gold medalist. You don't have to be an Olympian. Whatever you got to do.
And like when I won my first medal in Beijing, I was 21 years old. I was young, and like I did think it was everything, you know. And like I wasn't a professional cyclist then. I rode for the national team I rode for New Zealand. That's where I went to World Champs and to Olympic Games and stuff as a member of New Zealand team. And so then you do become like, after the Olympics, you're like, oh, Sam Bewl and this person was an Olympic medalist. People sort of know you a little bit. Like I went back to Rotorua, I went into the bank and people recognize my name. And you do get a bit caught up in all that shit. And like when I stopped riding the track after London and I just focused on my road career, I went back to just being like one of a number of hundred people in the pro peloton that just did a job. You know, I didn't have success or whatever. And so with that came like less media attention, less like people maybe knowing you in the streets when you're back home in Rotorua. And for a period, like I kind of was like, oh, dumb, you know? But then as you get older, you realize like that doesn't mean anything. Like why do you need the recognition from those people? Like it's great and I appreciate it.
Yeah,
but at the same time, like the people that you surround yourself with long term in life, family and friends, they don't care if you have a medal or not. They're proud that you do, but it's not conditional to your relationship with that person, you know? And that's where you need to be. That's where you appreciate like the people with. Yes, fucking hell, this is deep. What are we doing?
Mate,
say something funny, Jonsey.
Wuzzle wuzzle. Some Simpsons. no, but like, mate, at the end of the day, we'll wrap it up with the Olympics don't mean shit. We wish George all the best. And what you do as an athlete does not define you as a person. No. So if anyone's watching this that isn't an athlete, fucking keep living your best life. And geez, Social Distance Podcast has turned into David Goggins fucking hour. Motivation. Woo! Take it slow. Yo! All right. Should we leave on a high or what?
Yeah.
When are we going to be back? When are we going to be back?
Next week.
Monday.
We'll do it Monday.
Monday.
After the road race. Monday.
With or without George. If we can't get George, we'll get someone else, eh?
Yeah.
All right.
Beauty.
Awesome.
Righto.
Thanks for tuning in. Live your best life. # like, share, subscribe.
YOLO.
Fuck yeah.